Ask George is brought to you by International Cricket Tours. ICT are cricket travel specialists with decades of experience taking supporters all over the world. Get in touch with their expert team today to plan winter trips to the Caribbean, Pakistan, New Zealand, as well as the Women's Ashes. Love cricket, love travel, choose International Cricket Tours.
Do I have to do the face thing?
You don't.
I didn't last time, so I didn't know if I was supposed to.
There's no three-line width. You don't have to do it.
Try it. I mean, see if you can pull it off. It's so much harder than
I'm not going to do it, but only because I've got a phone in my hand.
But he tried it and he took a child's eye out.
Okay. Right, so after day 4, the final day in the end of the second test at Trent Bridge, it's time once again to ask George.
Nice, pretty good, smooth.
Right, well that escalated quickly, guys, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean it really did. I think it was it 13 overs?
Something like that.
They lost 10 wickets. I mean, not long after, an hour into the innings, people were thinking, oh my lord, West Indies going to pull off one of the great chases here. And yeah, it just shows that things can change very quickly. It's a lot of runs, and no one has ever done it before here. I thought actually, in the end, batting last did look a bit more difficult than batting at any other time. There's a wee bit of up and down in the wicket. I don't know whether that would make anyone think differently about that decision at the toss. Craig Brathwaite defended it, but yeah, it wasn't to be, and just shows the Test cricket kind of a bad hour.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you just made there, bad hour, because the key moment for me was actually, so I think it was just after the drinks break, so it was 61 without loss. They take a drink, and then Machel Louis falls, a ball, maybe 2 balls after the drinks break. And I mean, we don't know if this is correct or not, but effectively Louis goes, Mackenzie goes, Hodge and Athanase follow in quick succession. And as it was all unfolding, it just felt like one of those situations where this is the inexperience coming to the fore. I'm not saying a more experienced player may have been able to take the drama out of the situation, but it certainly felt like, this is where the inexperience hurts, where it felt like a procession and nobody knew how to get out of that particular scenario.
And on the inexperience thing, I mean, if anyone had done particularly well, showed their ability, maybe they'd have been picked off by a franchise league before the next test anyway. I mean, that is the terrible situation West Indies find themselves in, that if their players do well, they'll be picked off and taken elsewhere, really.
George.
Am I wrong?
No.
Kyle Myers did really well in the Caribbean. Immediately he snapped up.
Yeah.
It's no one's fault, it's just, I think it's a fact.
Okay, right, well, okay, first up, Simon Stokes asks, isn't it amazing how good Joe Root looks when he plays a normal type of innings?
Do you want to go?
Well, I think it's a bit, I don't know, harsh is wrong possibly to say, but didn't they all play a normal kind of innings? Like Harry Brook reached his 100 off, I want to say like 120 maybe 115.
Yeah.
They all played, I thought, within what the situation required.
Well, they did in the second innings.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about the second innings. Sorry,
They absolutely did, and I think maybe the question is relating to the fact that Joe Root has had a lost weekend, you might say, in John Lennon terms, of a period where he's maybe tried to be something he isn't, and maybe didn't need to be, because he scores so freely anyway. Yeah. He's so adept at sort of finding gaps and rotating that he maybe didn't need to change the way he played. And I thought that in the second innings, England played a really, really mature style of cricket. I don't know, postmodern baseball. I don't know. So I get the point of the question, and I agree. He didn't really need to change, did he? He's a high-class player, and he proved that against Spain. It was a massive partnership. That partnership between Root and Brook. Brook, I think, scores more quickly anyway, naturally. But he's a freak of a talent, isn't he? And Joe Root, he needs to not be sucked along by that. He scores absolutely fast enough, and he's high class.
And sort of expanding on that point about the other Yorkie who got the runs today, Aman Parekh asks, how good is Harry Brook?
Go on.
Okay, so speaking as the neutral in this situation, I mean, how good is it to have a player where, I don't know, maybe as England fans, I don't know where you stand on it, but Harry Brook's one of those players where, as an opposition, somebody in the opposition, like, please don't let him get a start, because you know he's inevitably going to cash in on it. And given he's only, 25? It's frightening that you can have a player at 25 where you're already effectively saying, don't let him get off to one, because the game will move on quite quickly. if you allow him to. So yeah, it's a fantastic talent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are sterner tests, and he'll be defined, I guess, how he does against India and Australia, and in Australia in particular. But
Obviously missed the India series for reasons.
yeah,
True, yeah.
but I share something if you could. It's fantastic.
Indoor Kite Society asks, should Mark Wood actually be opening the bowling for England? 94 miles an hour before the batsmen have got set is surely even harder to face.
Well, it probably is. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, but I don't think they found the new ball bowler yet. How old is he? 34. There's already, it's quite an old dog to learn a new trick, I'd say, but it's an option and maybe something they should look at. I don't know that he needs to. I think they're still looking for that role.
No, that's a question about Wood here.
Cool.
And I'm looking at it purely in the context of this test match. Does he need more to his arsenal
Than pace.
than pace?
He needs
Or-
to field as he catches the ball. That would have helped him, wouldn't it?
But there was times today where I was like, okay, he's fast, he's frightening, and obviously the one that got Sinclair, deal with that, brute of a delivery. But there were just a few times where I thought you might need a bit more than just pace, or do you think that the strength is so strong, like let him just do what he does well?
Look, I think you raise a fair point. But I would argue that he does have a bit more than pace. He can swing it, he can certainly reverse it, but it is such a precious skill and so precious. So you grown up supporting West Indies. West Indies have loads of fast bowlers, but England, this is special. But no, I think you raise a reasonable point there. It's quite a slow wicket. He
So,
has
yeah, I was gonna
done
come back
very
to that,
well in South Africa and Australia. He was a really good bowler on both those tours, and certainly white ball cricket.
Yeah, I was going to say, in white ball cricket, he does need more to his arm.
He probably does need a wee bit more, and he very, very belatedly has learned slow balls and stuff. There have been quick bowlers. Who is it we were talking about? A Jamaican fast bowler who's meant to be the quickest bowler in the Caribbean.
OJ Shields.
OJ Shields. I know Shane Thomas as well, who might be the second quickest bowler in the Caribbean, might he? We were talking about all these guys, and pace is one weapon. I mean, Sean Tate didn't have an amazing Test career, and he was quick as all hell. So it's a reasonable point, but I would argue that he's got a bit more.
Okay, Bobby Smith asks, has Chris Wokes guaranteed his inclusion for the rest of the Test summer?
Oh, I don't know about that. I still think he's in a transitional role. I don't think he'll go to Australia. I don't think they've been entirely honest with us about that. I can't believe he'll go to Australia. But he might play this summer, and he might do a really, really valuable role for England this summer. But I suspect they're still looking for someone. But he's reminded everyone what a fantastic cricketer he is. He just needs, at this stage of his career, maybe he always has, just a wee bit of assistance, either from the conditions or the surface. But he bowled beautifully
He
today.
did. I think it's worth mentioning that he did bowl well today. Now, I was actually going to say to you, is it not fair to say that you can just play Wokes in certain conditions whilst England look for that next person?
Absolutely. And look, the argument is that because they've decided Anderson has to go because he's not going to make it to Australia, maybe you could say the same about Wokes. And you could argue that. It's a completely reasonable point to make. Wokes does bat at 8. He does balance the side. And he's actually 6 years younger than Anderson. So I think he's doing a job for now, and let's see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he was in Pakistan. I'd be surprised if he was in New Zealand. But I'm glad that he had another good couple of days in the sun for us. He deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, he could even theoretically play next summer if they're just worried about winning series.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you want to win series at home, then Chris Wokes is your best option.
But winning series at home does matter. I mean, there's the World Test Championship.
Yeah.
They've come up the table a wee bit there. He's a very, very good cricketer. I'm really glad. Look, he's had a hard time at things. I don't know how much he's spoken about that, but he's obviously had a family bereavement. Come into the series a bit undercooked, I think. And yeah, he's a good guy. He's having a good couple of days. So great.
Okay, Old Dabble, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, and apologies if I haven't, asked how long until Bashir becomes England's all-time leading spin bowling wicket taker.
Wow. Who is it? That Derek Underwood?
I think it still is, and Swan is just behind, is that right?
297 is Derek Underwood.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Well, I mean, he's got a way to go then, hasn't he? But it's going to take a few years.
How old's he? 20.
20.
Yeah.
Three fifers at 20. I mean, it's Good going.
It's scary how good he is already, isn't it? Considering the lack of first-class action he's actually had.
You've got absolutely beautifully so. Look, I didn't have access to a TV screen, but I'd love to have seen some of it again, particularly the Jason Holder dismissal. Did you get a good look at that?
So I've seen them again.
And? Go on.
So so Hamilton's, we took 5 for 30 something, I think it was 536. Who did he get rid of again? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Mackenzie. Well, that's Mackenzie's fault. I think we have to chalk that one up to Mackenzie. Hodge.
But just on the Mackenzie one, fantastic catch.
Yes, true. I forgot the catch. I did forget the catch.
I wasn't sure. Look, I'd have picked Ben, folks. Make no bones about it. James Smith's done right.
On the radar.
And actually, this has been good for him this test because Bashir's had a bowl. It's meant he's had to stand up as well.
Right.
So it's been good for him.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, so Hodge pinned him on the back foot, which I thought was good delivery. Athanaze kissed the outside edge. That was good.
Yeah, it's classic. Great left-hander.
Jason, I think Jason played down the wrong line, but watch it again. I don't know. I'm probably looking at more critically from a West Indies perspective there. Can't remember his fifth one. Must have been the last one.
It was the last one, yeah.
Shamar Joseph, don't actually remember how that one went, but it's got delivery, no doubt.
I mean, I suppose this goes on to another point, Mash. I mean, is this a perennial problem for West Indies, the way they face spin bowling?
There'll be disagreements across the Caribbean about our abilities against spin. My issue is Bashir's ability in and of itself. Okay, great youngster, 5 for shoulder ninja, etc. That he's got ability
And character.
and yes. Okay, so then answer this, then, George. Would you have expected a stronger team, whoever you want to pick that stronger team to be, to have squared up to Bashir a bit better today? I guess that's really what I'm getting at, because I just thought some of it was a bit weak in terms of allowing themselves to get bogged down a bit. But I could be wrong. I'll watch it back again. But I just wonder if
I think West Indies is still looking for number 3.
Yeah.
Put it like that.
I'd say lightly. Yeah.
Look, I think West Indies. I've written a slightly odd piece today, comparing the upbringings really, or the development of Hodge and Root, and because they went to the Darren Lehman Academy
Yes,
together.
of course. Yeah.
And it ties into the fact that there are a lot of. I went to watch a bit of club cricket in Barbados recently, and it was dominated by spin. It's maybe not what you think. If you haven't been there for a while, you think there'll be loads of fast bowlers and quick wickets, and the wickets are all dead. They're not even spinning wickets; they're just tired wickets. And that pretty much is the situation across the Caribbean. Maybe not St Lucia, but it's pretty much, and it means that there are loads of slow bowlers playing a lot of cricket, bowling a lot of overs, but they're not actually necessarily really good spinners.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would argue that the regional cricket in the Caribbean isn't preparing the players for Test cricket at all. So they are learning at this level, and they're playing people like Mark Wood, which you don't see very often, and Sher Bashir, who's obviously a talented guy, and his relative inexperience is probably of benefit to him because they haven't had all the chances to study the videos and stuff. I mean, it's the first time he's bowled in a Test in England in this game, But I do think there's a lot to like, and I definitely wouldn't want to diminish what he's doing. The reason I was asking about the Holder thing is I wondered whether it maybe held up, went the other way. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
I think it did hold up a bit, went straight to
Okay, I don't know if that's natural variation. Because I think I said in the first inning, his seam position's different all the time. I thought that was by accident. I'm not sure it was actually. This is a guy who thinks a lot about what he's doing.
One of them came more out of the hand, I think. One of the ones that beat Holder. I'm not sure if it was the wicket or not. But,
the message I got was
well,
it was a good delivery, not necessarily an unplayable delivery.
So, how many balls are unplayable?
Well,
but would Raul Dravid have been out to that ball? Well, maybe not. But
listen, we got to give the young man his props at the end of the day.
He did take 5 against India.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He did bowl very well in India. So I think there's quite a lot to like there, but so I wouldn't want to diminish what he's done. Yeah.
Okay, one for you, I'm afraid, Mash. Is it true that it's the hope that kills you?
Do you know what? So in my kind of wrap up of today, I've preferred to just focus on the positives, and I think maybe I'm being overly optimistic here, but I'm looking at it in the context of what happened at Lord's. Lord's was an absolute shambles, right? And at this test, you could reasonably argue that up until the first hour of our reply, it was an even game. And at 61 for 0, there may have been a few people going, wait a minute, are West Indies actually going to prove to be a difficult team to beat? We won day 2.
Absolutely.
took a first innings lead on day 3, so arguably were ahead of the game at that particular point. Even when Root and Brooke put their partnership together, we came back well with the ball at the back end. 300 and whatever it was in the N80 was always going to be too much. But the point is, given what happened at Lords, I think the overall message, and I know you were there in the press conference with Craig at the end, I think the overall message will be to what is still a relatively inexperienced side, we got better. And unfortunately, as George alluded to at the beginning, sometimes you have an hour of Test cricket that things just happen quickly. And I think you shouldn't focus too much on that hour and make it overshadow everything else that went on before it. That's me trying to be positive.
No, I think that's really realistic and sensible and measured. And at the risk of going over old ground, I'd just say that this is a very uneven battle in many ways, not in terms of talent. I think the West Indies have shown there's loads of talent, but they're just not getting the preparation that England get. They're just not. It's not a level playing field. It's not. That's not a criticism of anything or anybody, but we can't lie to ourselves. It's not a level playing field in international cricket anymore. And how many tests do West Indies play in the next year or so? But the next year, England, 16, 17 more before the Ashes? How many do West Indies have at that time? 6?
They've got, I think you said 5 more before the end of the year. Is that
so
right?
They've got 2 versus, one more here. So 5 more for the year, 2 in Pakistan, and then I don't know when we next play Test cricket after that. Probably not till the summer of 2025, probably.
So we were talking about, it's terribly difficult for players to even keep going. This quick bowler we were talking about, O'Shea Shields, he's a teacher. He's only played, half a dozen, 9, maybe, is it, first-class games? He can't make a living.
And when you don't know when your next test is after this year, why would you give up your career to play first-class cricket?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, one last question from Sushant. It was great fun in the Ashes, but isn't it time to start docking Broady his test wickets now every time someone swaps the bails around?
I'm letting George do this because I don't quite understand it, so explain it to me.
I think Josh De Silva was seen doing it.
Oh, right, okay.
I think.
I mean, it does feel like those people who still say "what's up" to each other 20 years after it's kind of funny and fashionable. But maybe again,
it's the cricketing version of that.
Yeah, but there's loads of things that I would never say that unless you'd asked it. There's loads of things that happen when you're here every day. You can get a bit sniffy about, like Jerusalem and stuff. But if I was a kid coming for the first time,
yeah,
I would think that was part of the pomp of the day, and I think I'd probably really, really enjoy it. But yeah, it feels a bit tired, that one. But what do I know?
Well, thanks to everyone for your questions during this test match, and have a good evening.
Are we seeing you in Edgbaston?
I will be at Edgbaston. We're going to win that one.
Fantastic. Cheers, bye.